August, the weather starts to get cooler. And it's funny, the correlation when Steve and Mirabai show up, it's like 1-to-1. So I'm starting to think that they have something to do with it. But they come once a year, and it's great to have them. This is Heart Dream, everybody.
This is a song called Dancing in the Light, and it's an experience Steve and I had at the top of Mount Haleakala in Maui.
Dawn is breaking, moontime is over, living within the truth. Family of hands, united blessed in love's sacred sound. We are dancing in the light. With pure mind we take flight. We are dancing. We are free. We are free. We live in God, all sharing one name, with infinite wings of peace. Love overflowing, dreams unveiled. We are connected to one heart. We are dancing in the light. With infinite peace we take flight. We are dancing. We are free. We are free. Gently, God plays the strings of our heart. Every voice
voice sings one name.
Footsteps of gratitude awaken our soul in the light of God. We all know we are dancing in the light with pure mind. We take flight. We are dancing. We are free. We are free. We are dancing. We are dancing. Ooh. Ooh. We are dancing. We are dancing in the light of God. We all know we are dancing. We are free. We are free.
You know, as you were playing that, I was sitting there thinking, I don't know how I'm going to do this talk because right now I'm way out in space watching things swirl. How do I get back? Somebody give me a Milky Way. No, that's not exactly what the Milky Way is it? So this week we're talking about what's called the platinum rule. Most of us were raised with the golden rule. Now, some of us were told that that means that he who has the gold makes the rules. It's a corollary of rank has its privileges. And that usually means an adult wanted me to clean something. That's not what it is. According to the book of St. Matthew, it is that do unto others as you would have others do unto you. This is the laws and the prophets, all else is commentary. The disciples of the master teacher Jesus would all have been steeped in Jewish tradition because they were good Jews. And so I went back to see maybe where he got it. And according to my research, the Jewish version of that is what is hurtful to yourself, do not do to your fellow man. That is the whole of the Torah, and the remainder is but commentary. Go learn it. Well, alrighty then. Apparently whoever wrote the Torah feels they have some authority, and they were right. So every religion, it would seem, has some version of this rule. What you would not wish for yourself, do not do to your brother, or some other longer version of that. What we know is that because God is all there is, there's a oneness that underlies everything. And so I wouldn't want to hurt somebody else. And a basic way of making sure that I don't hurt somebody is to say, would it be all right if they did that to me? That's why there are very few people I will call at 3 a.m. just to ask them, hey, what was that book? Now, if it's a real issue, if it's, a real problem, what I want is to be called. Yeah? Everybody wants to be trusted with that. Everybody wants to be honored with being the person. Okay, maybe that's just me, actually, at 3 a.m. It's one of the few things it's okay to call me about at 3 a.m. If you just want the name of the book, email me, I'll get back to you. But for many of us, there's a couple problems with that particular rule. There's a book called The Art of Selfishness that was published, it was a bestseller in the 1920s by David Sibley, whose parents were the primary students of Phineas Parkhurst Quimby. And I'm not just saying that because I love to say Phineas. He was one of the original people who taught this philosophy as a healing philosophy. He went and healed people. And so he taught the parents of David Seabury, who actually, well, anyway, that's a longer story, and it has to do with a lawsuit that I just found interesting. It's kind of like the 1800s version of Gossip Girl. So anyway, he wrote that book, The Art of Selfishness, and what he says is that no teaching has done more harm than the Golden Rule. Dale Carnegie tells it another way. What he says is he loves strawberries and cream, but he has noticed that fish do not. And so if he puts a strawberry doused in cream on his hook, the fish are just not interested. That's a paraphrase. What it comes down to is just because I would enjoy it does not mean I can assume somebody else will. And it is on me to be a little bit aware that, for instance, if I'm sick, please leave me alone. I don't want anyone to see that. I certainly don't want to be woken up if I just got to sleep. And I don't want anyone to hear that annoying whining sound that apparently is my voice. That might just be in my head. On the other hand, if somebody else is sick, they might prefer that I come visit them. They might, and I'm talking like if I'm in the hospital, I want like 2 or 3 people total at the most, and that's mostly to bring me my charger from my phone. I'm uncomfortable, I have bedhead, and I can't look professional like that. And so all of you, I know you love me, go away. And what I know is that many people, when they are in the hospital, would love to have their minister, me or any other minister, be there for them. Be a voice of sanity, which is why I often don't show up. Be the voice of calm and reason. I can do that for a few minutes. Be a comforting person showing up to say, I love you, you are not alone in this. There is a world outside your sickbed, and you will be returning to it. I have also been known on rare occasions to sneak people French fries because all anybody was bringing them was carrots and soup and good for them stuff. And so my friend called and said, for the love of God, bring me a Philly cheesesteak. Okay. But see, that's another example of do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Everybody thought, oh, well, she's sick, she needs healthy food. No, she wanted ice cream. She was in pain. The ice part, you really only want that to hold against the painful part, right? That's all we want it for. And then we have to clean it up. So one of the problems with the Golden Rule is that it does not take into account the preferences of other people. The other problem that I have seen with it is that we are following it. So think about, you have made a mistake, it's an embarrassing mistake. How harsh are you on yourself? How do you talk to yourself about that? I often work with people saying, if you would not say it to your grandchild, don't say it to you. If you would not say it in public to your favorite teacher, do not say it to you. If it's not good enough for them, it's not good enough for you. And yet what I know and what I have learned the hard way many, many times is that as harsh as I am on myself and as loving as I try to be on other people, that harshness leaks. That judgment leaks. Does anyone know a leaker? Has anyone been the leaker? It's okay to be a leak in this situation. This is not like federal court or anything. It's really hard to treat people better than you treat yourself. And so what happens is, for instance, I mean, many of you know that I'm working on not complaining. Part of that is not criticizing. Now, for 3 days this week, I had to just take it off. I had opinions. I was going to break this. It was going back and forth so fast. I'm human. I was criticizing myself. I was criticizing a situation. I was criticizing about 5 situations because ministers multitask. I had to take it off and slow down, literally lock myself in my own home, and get my head back on straight, come back to my senses. Stop being so harsh internally so that I could handle what was going on externally with love and kindness. If you won't do it for yourself, you actually don't know how to do it from a deep place. Now, that doesn't mean I think you're all mean poopy heads, including the people in internet land. What that means is I'm asking you to practice being nice to yourself. Practice treating yourself the way you would someone you actually like. That's another version of this rule in Christianity is love your neighbor as yourself. Well, what if you're a masochist? And so there is a deeper place to go, and that's called the platinum rule. Do unto others as they would like you to. Do unto others in such a way that you are not helping in a really annoying way. I have done that. It does not end well. I'm pretty sure I got like a used tissue for Christmas that year. What I'm asking you to do is remember that your way of looking at the world is different than other people's. I had an experience a little while ago during the Ascari deal, dealing with the whole, the land swap stuff. There are people on our board who are really good at the art of the deal. I am not that person. I have actually bought cars without back seats because I just wanted to get the hell out of there. I break out in hives at the thought of arguing. This is why I am not an attorney, in spite of the encouragement I got from the attorneys I worked for. They figured I could do law school. I didn't think I could do law because then I'd have to fight somebody verbally. They don't encourage that in the court, by the way. No, really, you'll get kicked out. I saw it. It's not something I'm good at. And so what I have learned is there are truly people who think differently than me in the world. There are people who don't like public speaking and people who do like business deals. And so the big learning for me has been that for all my years of psychology, for all my years of studying the human psyche, I'm really ever going to completely understand God as me. And beyond that, I'm going to have to keep asking questions to see if I'm getting it right. Now, I have spoken here about spiral dynamics, which is a way of understanding cultures and how they change. I've spoken about the 4 primary types of personalities and how you can work with them and how you can learn to talk with them. I've done Myers-Briggs, I've done DISC, I've done everything up to and including Vedic astrology. None of which are bad, all of which had something to offer. The one that I have found, one of the 2 that I have found that work the best for me is the love languages. People receive love and give love in some very specific ways. Has anyone read the book Love Languages? I know there's a whole bunch of you because I keep talking about it, and we're going to go over it again today. The 5 ways people receive and give love include touch. Some people are just huggy. Some people, don't touch me, I'm a Yankee. I grew up where Calvinism still lives. My grandmother would be horrified at the way I now hug people. As a matter of fact, I once got yelled at for hugging my brother, who I had not seen in months. Okay. Because it simply isn't proper. We don't do that in front of the neighbors. She was doing the best she could. Another one is quality time. Ever since divorce became a thing, quality time with your kids has been something we talk about. But quality time means, it might mean cleaning the house together. It might mean just sitting and drinking your coffee together in the morning. It might mean that you guys need to go on a trip. I'm happy to carry the bags if you're going someplace interesting. Another one is gifting. Many of you have already heard this story, but I'm telling it again because I have the microphone. There was one year I was moving on New Year's Day. And so I was packing and I was spending money on this move, which was also me giving up my live-in job. My brother had just moved to Florida, lost his job, no fault of his own, and been sent back. And so they were having to sell their dream house, and it was like right after the furniture was delivered and she found out she was pregnant. Not a good weekend for the Sibley kids. So he was kind of broke. My sister was going through some stuff of her own, and so the 3 of us together said, look, can we just skip Christmas this year? None of us can afford it in time, energy, or finances. And I know I warned Mom that that's what was happening. In April, she finally spoke to me again. April! Because she's a gift giver. And she was so hurt by the fact that none of her kids acknowledged Christmas that year. Can you see why, by her estimation, it was just horrible? She's like, a 99-cent card wouldn't have killed you. But if you have to say it, then it doesn't mean anything anymore, right? Poor Mom, she said, I'm going to tell you this once, and then we never have to speak to it again. And I said, I have a master's in marriage and family counseling, Mom, we're going to speak of it. A lot. So we have touch, we have quality time, we have gift giving, we have acts of service. You know that one person whose name we won't say, but we'll call him Alvin, comes in at dark 30 and makes our coffee for us, is always in service to someone? That is his love language. There are some people who are just like that. There are some people who you will win the favorite person ever forever if you simply bring home dinner so they don't have to cook it that night because they're tired. I remember coming home from work while I was still working on my first master's, and my sister, who was staying with us, had been cooking dinner. And I almost sat down on the floor and cried because it was the best thing she could have done. I didn't have to cook that night. I had forgotten to eat, which is a bad habit I have. Her act of service made all the difference to me. So we have touch, we have quality time, we have gifts, we have acts of service, and then we have words of appreciation. Now there's a little trick I've learned about this one. If you are saying thank you for something, if you are giving someone a compliment and appreciating their way of being in the world, it has to be specific and you have to mean it. You cannot say, oh, look what a cute baby you have, if they're, fostering an orangutan. You got it? Someone at 9 months with triplets does not want to hear how they have lost weight. It has to be true. And we can always find something that we like about the person standing across from us. It might be the smile in their eyes. It might be the way they are with their kids that you just love and adore. believe me, that parent needs to hear that they're doing it right. I promise you, they've already been told 1,000 times in quiet little ways that they're doing it wrong. We can always find something specific, which means you were actually paying attention. Do you see what this requires? It requires us to be in relationship. It requires us to talk to each other, to get to know each other, and to show through our actions that we value the way the other person is in the world. Does that make sense? What we're really doing is looking at God in the other person and allowing the God within us to say hello. It's this lack of relationship that gets us in trouble, where we try and send a nice gift and it turns out that's the one thing they're allergic to. Or, it's the same thing you sent them last year because you forgot. No, I've never actually done that one, but I saw it in a movie once. It is the requirement for relationship that is how we care for the human family, which is our theme for the month. Our theme for the month is about oneness and love and how we take care of each other. In order to truly take care of each other, we have to know each other. And we have to be willing to set aside our own preferences for what somebody else has asked of us. Who here has been in a relationship that ended and somebody asked for space and it wasn't easy to give? That's a hard one. Sometimes it's really hard to respect that. I asked my father for space 10 years ago now. I'm not done yet. If you think that's not hard on him, I get it. I have great sympathy for him. I just also recognize I do better without him in my life. And I cannot respect him as a child of God in such a way that I deserve to be in his, or he deserves for me to be in his. That is simply when somebody says, please give me space, then we respect it. And having said that, when someone quietly picks up the phone and says, hey, I just wanted to say hi, that may well be a scream for, please come give me some time and attention. Please acknowledge me because I haven't spoken to another human in days. And I've known people who were, stuck in the house or doing their lives and hadn't had a real conversation in days. All of this requires us to pay attention. It requires us to acknowledge our oneness. It requires us to know ourselves and the God within us really, really well so we can tease it out from what somebody else is asking of us. It is that clarity and that wisdom that I am calling on today in prayer. And so I'm going to ask you to join me now in consciousness. And I pray from here because I want us all to, remember that we are one. Just because I have the mic, just because